Well, hello there. Welcome to Wicked Felina. I'm Felina, and I am continuing with my truth rant. Now, I told you in the last video that there's a reason why all these news outlets seem to be spewing out the same lie. And most people, because they think they're actually watching different networks, say, gee, the MSNBC and CBS and CNN, all of them are telling the same story and telling us all these horrible things about Trump. And the newspapers, and which one does Bezos own? He owns Washington Post and the New York Times, which is owned by a billionaire from Mexico, is part owner. Who knows how that affects it. But there's a reason why you're getting the same line. Well, here's the really, really funny thing, okay? This is really funny. Well, when President Bill Clinton was in office, you see, there was this law that if you owned a newspaper or you owned a TV station, you owned a magazine, you were not allowed to own more than one. You couldn't own a newspaper and a television station or more than one television network. You couldn't own more than one. So there's about 600,000 different owners. And what happened since he kind of destroyed that law, we only have 6 owners that own everything. So that means these 6 owners, probably 6 big conglomerate corporations or billionaires, trillionaires, own the whole kit and caboodle. So if you think you're reading a newspaper and that you're reading this newspaper and it's telling you the same thing about Trump as the CNN, MSNBC, all these different television networks are telling you the same thing, and you're reading it in a magazine or you're hearing it on the radio, and since they're all telling you the same thing, well, you think that this is from all different sources. When you have 600,000, then you have 600,000 different political views. You have investigative reporting, because it's much harder to pay off that many owners, much harder to convince that many owners to lie and to basically offer deals to all these people. I get into office, I will lower your tax rate, or I'll make something that's not okay by attaching it to a bill, just like when Obama attached that little provision, I forget which bill it was, but it was attached. And he signed it, I think he signed it in Hawaii. It was about not being able to sue Monsanto. Monsanto basically, that's creating that, Roundup weed killer. Well, it's killing wildlife. It's causing cancer. It's really destroying, it's going to kill everyone. But you see, he signed that bill because Monsanto's got a lot of money. And you can make deals if they're the big guys. Plus, corn. Do you know that you have to buy the corn seeds new every year if you're a farmer? It used to be you used to save so many ears of corn so you could replant them. Well, since Monsanto has genetically modified corn, if, let's say, by accident, some seeds came onto your property, Monsanto seeds, well, that's theft. I think you can go to jail for that, for using those seeds without buying them new every year from Monsanto. So they've got a stranglehold on corn and a bunch of other things that we eat that are genetically modified that are probably going to cause us cancer. So basically, he washed Monsanto's hands and basically signed the death warrant to a lot of wildlife and a lot of people because they're going to get cancer and die. We've kind of ruined everything. So what happened was, it was brilliant what Bill Clinton did, because it's working for Hillary now. I mean, you've got all these people brainwashed and screaming in the streets because they're hearing the same lie. Because basically all the networks, all the MSM, the newspapers, they're all owned by the same people. You know how one hand washes the other. Very interesting. They're so wealthy that they know each other. And that's why when they get together on Martha's Vineyard and Nantucket, remember she was doing fundraisers while that hurricane went on, and I forget what part of the country it was, Louisiana. There was a hurricane, and she was doing fundraisers with Obama and Martha's Vineyard, and then they went to Nantucket because they know all the wealthy people. They're friends with all the wealthy people. And all these wealthy people are the ones who own all the media. And it's not just me saying it. People like Jimmy Dore, who is a staunch Bernie Sanders supporter. It's also that wing of the left, or you could say the true left, the honest left. I think Jimmy Dore is pretty honest. So that's your problem. And that's why everybody's being fed a lie. And that's why everybody hates Trump and wants to kill him. Because during the election, it was found out, it came out through WikiLeaks, that these news stations were sending their stories to Hillary's campaign so they can edit it. They can edit it, rewrite it, send it back, and everything you heard and you thought was news was actually bullshit. And I'll use that word again. Bullshit written by the Hillary campaign to defame Trump. And since then, I'm not sure if you know that Russian dossier, Hillary paid for it. Hillary paid for it. And I think the FBI paid for it too, because that whole thing was corrupt. He decided, or he wrote her exoneration letter before the investigation was over on the private server, and her destroying computers and wiping the servers clean with BleachBit. That's right, BleachBit. I mean, there's just so much. I mean, if one of us did that once and removed one government email we were supposed to keep, we'd be in jail forever. But, they know what they're doing. Anyway, let's carry on, because this is part 2. We're going to be talking about, that 2.5 times more children were being kept in cages under Obama. All this thing about children being kept in cages, 2.5 times more were kept in those cages under Obama. Because he's telling the parents, send your kids here, and then when they get amnesty, they'll bring you here, and then we'll send them around the country, put them in foster care of good Democrats, so they can brainwash them starting, when they're really, really young. So hold on a second, there's more. Oh, and by the way, remember the Time cover where they photoshopped Trump and that crying little girl? I'm sure you've already heard that her mother, basically she had left 4 other children back home with the father, and he actually has a good job working at the port. So isn't that she was starving or anything? She just wanted to move to America. So what she did was she took her youngest child, her little baby girl, through this wretched, horrible trip. And she happened to have $6,000 on hand to take that little girl on this horrible trip with the coyotes that could have raped or killed both of them, and have her little girl and, make it look so sad that this mother is fleeing, poverty or violence, and easier to get, oh yes, we've got to save the both of you. But as it turned out, the Daily Mail uncovered, English newspapers, that the father didn't want her to take his youngest child. It was a horrible thing to do. And she had a very nice life there. And she left 4 other children. She left her 4 other children. And that's something. But she used her daughter to get over the border. Doesn't sound like she loves her daughter. Doesn't sound like she loves her children or her husband. So a lot of these people coming through are not saints. They're not saints. I'm sick of that bullshit. I'm going to remind you here. Remember, I've told you this before. Obama, it came out. It's been disclosed. You can find it on the net. Obama knew that these unaccompanied minors were MS-13 gang members. It came out that he knew that they were coming into this country to kill people, to satanically kill people. He knew it. He knew it. Now, it's funny that most Americans don't have an emergency. They don't have an extra dime for an emergency. They can't afford to put together $500. And this woman had $6,000. Bullshit. And remember before we saw those videos of ISIS slowly slicing the heads off their victims with dull knives? It's really nice of them. Before those films were made, it was the Mexican drug cartels that were making those videos, slicing the heads off of their victims. The drug cartels that are right at the American border, because they were leaving headless bodies at our border. It's happening. Bush was in office. The election was going on. I remember hearing this on the news. Well, then Obama got in office. He put, Obamacare. Somehow, right before he opens the border and asks people to send their children through and to ask people to flow in, and he told them how to get asylum, because he sent, in Spanish down to South America. Get it on the internet. It was postered on buildings, anywhere, what to do and how to get through the border. But he did that after he enacted Obamacare. So he had everything in place. So we can pay for that too. It's funny, you put through Obamacare and you're not doing it for the Americans, because you're bringing in refugees from Syria or the Middle East, right? And Somalia, Muslim African countries. And then you open the border to all the people of South America, which there are 400 million people in South America. You open the border, everybody's going to come in. That's interesting. How many doctors do we have? How hard is it to get a doctor's visit? How hard is it? How long do you wait to see a doctor? When you go to an emergency room, how long do you have to wait when you have some kind of emergency? And so if you bring all these people in right away, right after that thing was passed. And it was only passed by Democrats because they locked the door and wouldn't let Republicans in. Remember, he was supposed to be the one that was supposed to bring the two sides together because he was such a good talker. Then gets this passed, whatchamacallit, what's his name? The guy who was in the movie Trading Places. He dressed up like an ape. Did he dress up like an ape? Something like that. That was a fake election. The Republican was winning. Al Franken. The Republican was winning. And then all of a sudden, a few months later, they found this box of votes all for Al Franken because Obama needed that one extra vote so he could just pass Obamacare. This was so fake. And what did he do? Did he give better health care to all Americans? In fact, there were still about 30 million Americans that were not insured. No, he then opened up the borders and then started bringing in supposed refugees from the Middle Eastern countries and Africa, all the Muslims. So, there's probably poor Muslims out there that actually would like to come to this country. But anyway, we don't have enough doctors. And because of Obamacare, doctors are leaving there. In fact, one of my doctors, my hematologist, oncologist, is left the profession altogether. They can't handle it. So how much can we put on our welfare state? How many people can we add to our welfare state? How many? 400 million people in South America. Let's say bring all those in. Okay. And then how many millions? There's almost 2 billion Muslims in the world. So if you've got refugees or bringing in people from Africa and the Middle East, and you bring those in, and you're an environmentalist. You are an environmentalist, and you always vote Democrat. You definitely vote for Obama because of that climate warming scam thing. Remember when he let China and India off for 20 years? They didn't have to abide by the regulations. And they're building about 6 coal-fired power plants like every week. They're putting those up, but they don't have to abide by the climate change regulations or the whole to clean the air and stuff like that. And so this is on all those recycle bags. Everything is being made in China. And that's why Trump wants China to pay a fair tax. Our goods are heavily taxed as they go over there. Theirs aren't taxed when they come in here. So we're buying all this stuff from China. We're buying everything, you environmentalist nut jobs. We're buying everything from a country that has no regulations on carbon emissions or poisons. And their rivers and ponds are poisoned. You can't eat shrimp out of those rivers and ponds because they are poisoned. And these recycle bags are non-recyclable. If you burn them, then you're letting toxic gases in the air. And there's lead paint all over them. There's lead paint. They're using lead paint. So this is not helpful. Isn't like they're making them out of canvas. No, they're making them in a country that has no environmental regulations, whether it be carbon emissions or pollution or anything like that. So good going. So you let those people off for 20 years and you're highly taxing the Western countries that all have the regulations. If it's made here, we have the regulations. There's less pollution, almost none pollution. How about that? And carbon emission regulations, that we've kind of fixed that. It would be much better if it was made here, wouldn't it? Much better, because we have to follow the regulations. Otherwise, the companies put out of business, they're fined, they go to jail, all that funny stuff. So you want to bring, if you lived in Delhi, if you breathe the air in Delhi, it's like smoking 50 cigarettes a day. That's how bad it is. And you're doing this to these countries, and you're doing it to the world. So if this climate change thing is such an emergency, you would never have left them off for 20 years. You want to know something? It's going to be forever. After 20 years, you honestly think it's going to stop? And no, it's going to be forever. And you know that. 20 years. Bullshit. So you got a burgeoning welfare state. Inflation is going to go through the roof. And who is going to pay for these people? The sewer lines, the water filtration system. We won't, there are restrictions on using water even in the north. There's never enough rainfall. The reservoirs are always too low. And they're all coming into California, which are using trillions of gallons of water to grow alfalfa to send to China. And then you dump the reservoirs of the water, from the water that comes in the wintertime, you dump that into the ocean. Obama had that done. Dump that to save this, some kind of small trout fish. And you know what? At the rate that they dump it in, they turn the jets on, they dump it so hard and so fast, it's killing all those fish anyway. You're not saving the fish, and you're creating a drought system. Forget about the wildfires. The wildfires is the environmentalists' fault too, is because they stop the necessary burning. It's called prescribed burning. And you burn all the dead brush out to prevent wildfires. But they said by doing these controlled burnings, it's letting too much carbon in the air. So all this dead brush and trees builds up, and it built up tremendously this year, didn't it? And that caught on fire. And how long did that burn for? Months? How much carbon was let off into the atmosphere? How much wildlife was killed? How many people's homes were burned and destroyed? How much of a drought? You created your damn drought. So these environmentalists who want to bring all these people in, which there isn't enough water now, so you bring in all 400 million and then maybe 1 billion from the other countries. And where is everyone going to live? Where are we going to put the sewage? How much water? See, you need people to be spread out all over the world, so there's enough natural resources. There's enough land to grow food on. And you got the farmlands in America are being sold to China to grow more food. And you're bringing more people in, which there won't be enough land to grow the food. There won't be water. There won't be health care. Somehow this makes no sense. Humanitarians who are insisting, these progressive liberal towns are insisting that someone who's illegal get let go after they commit a crime and back into the community so they can commit other crimes, and they get let go. Hispanic Americans, African Americans, people from all nationalities, Muslim Americans, but if they commit a crime, they go to jail. But if you're illegal, you get let back out in the community because you don't want criminals to be deported, known criminals who are committing crimes like rape and murder and theft. you want to keep those people in this country. That is just so important to keep these people in this country, because that's what we need more of. What are you thinking? What kind of humanity? You're calling Trump? You want to kill Trump? You're making all these videos and all this hoopla about, and you think nothing of saying kill Trump. Yet you're letting go criminals into the community because they're illegal. Just because they're illegal, they're not here legally. They're not citizens. They can commit any crime they want, including murder. That's okay. And rape. That's okay. And pedophilia. That's okay. You people, you liberal, environmentalist wackos. So you getting back to, we won't have enough doctors. We won't have a big enough sewage system. We've sold our farmlands in the Midwest. We're selling them to China so they can grow crops for their people. We're selling off wine country, Marin County. For some reason, before in Southern California, before those wildfires broke out, mysteriously, in the wine country of all places, there were fires that were, it's almost like they were being set all over the place. How did those fires start in Marin County, where there really isn't the same drought issue? And this was before the time of year when it gets really dry in Southern California. How did this happen? How did these fires start? It's funny, but China is also buying off the wine country. So if we want wine, we're going to have to literally buy it from China. That'd be really great, because there are no regulations for pollution or environmental carbon emission. That's great. So if China has all this, it's really great what you've done. Do you have any idea what you're doing? You're just a bunch of hypocrites. So not enough food, not enough Section 8 housing. We need a lot of Section 8 housing. There won't be enough to pay for food stamps, EBT cards. Fuel assistance. This is amazing. I just thought of this right now. You're moving people from South America, where there is really no winter, right? It's not cold down there. You're taking all these people and moving them to America, where there is more need for carbon-based fuel use. Because we have winter, more heating, not just to pay more money for assistance, which I don't think there's enough taxpayers in this country to pay for all these people. Where is this money coming from? Or you want the people who pay taxes to be on the streets and to be starving. And you're going to put all these other people that you've brought into Section 8 housing, or basically the houses that the taxpayers had to leave because they couldn't pay the taxes. Either they go to jail, and you can house everybody nicely in jail who can't afford to pay their taxes. So, and then you're going to have the amount, you're bringing people from Africa and the Middle East where there is no winter, and you're bringing them to a country that has to have, the more people, the more fossil fuel use, the more we need for heating. How many solar panels can you build? Oh yes, we buy them from China. And those windmills that do nothing but take in birds and just grind them up. And solar panels, they turn into gray wisps, when they fly over solar panels, because it gets so hot. So you're environmentalists, apparently, that don't care about wildlife. You really don't care about climate change, because there's going to be such a huge amount of fossil fuel use, oil and coal and everything, because you're going to have to keep these people warm in the winter. You're going to have to clothe them. And of course, China will be able to make all the clothes that we need, because a lot of people in China, they're not going to move here, and we can get all our stuff from China. We maybe be able to buy some food that they grow here, but we're going to have to buy it from China, even though it's grown in our own country. So this is an incredible explosion of fossil fuel use. You know, those recycle bags, I'm talking about the grocery bags. In the grocery bags, you know, when I lived in California, there was canvas bags, or I bought those French grocery bags, which are like netting. You know, I did this first before it went crazy. And I can't stand these bags because they're basically plastic, petroleum-based, lead-painted bags that you cannot recycle. In fact, these liberal communities have gotten rid of plastic bags, which you could actually recycle. You know, you can actually recycle those bags. You bring them back to the store, there's a bin, you put them in, or people use them for trash or picking up poo-poo and stuff like that. But it's interesting, what happened was, all they did was, they basically said, you know, you can't get these free bags anymore. Now you have to pay for all your plastic bags. So they didn't really eliminate plastic bag use. We just have to pay for the plastic bags. And then we have to buy grocery bags that will kill the environment should we burn them, because we can't recycle them. And they're full of lead paint. And if you touch it or your kid starts to lick it, then you'll, you know, be something. You get challenged in the brain, you know, because that's lead paint. And China doesn't care what they use. You know, they're making those dog treats that basically kill the dogs off. This environmental, the way you're going about it, you should have talked to me first, and I could have told you. But you see, this is all about making the first world the third world, and the third world the first world. That's why, you know, giving all the business to China. All you did was transfer whatever climate crap was going on, and pollution and emissions and all. You just transferred it all to China and India. And now that's going through the roof. In fact, they're making more than we ever did here, because they make a bunch of crap that costs like nothing. And then you get on Amazon and then you buy all this crap, because sometimes they don't even charge it. Sometimes it's like 1 cent or 5 cents. Then you pay $3.99 for shipping from China. And all these plastic bags are made because they ship them all in plastic bags. So there's more plastic bags going, you know, through the atmosphere. This is unbelievable. You know, this is about the whole immigration thing. But at the same time, you're saying all these rotten things about Trump, who wants to make things in this country, and you go to the store and you buy it. Instead, you've created a world where you need more plastic and you need more fossil fuel burning, because you want everybody to move to America, and you want all the American taxpayers to be in jail. You'll institutionalize all of us and put us all in jails, you know, and then they'll move into the houses, but you still don't have enough land to grow food. So what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to grow the food in the land that all these people left. So who's going to go back there and live there? And then you're going to have to use fossil fuels to fly in this food to this country, which everybody in the world has moved to. Do you know how crazy this is? Do you know how many more jets and whatever and gas and all this crap, and how much you're going to hurt the environment for everybody living in the same spot? And then India and China are just kicking out the pollution. And then there's what are we going to do with the sewage waste? Where are we going to put that? Where are we going to put all the trash for the landfills when you bring all these people in? There's going to be no more land. Everybody's going to be standing right next to each other. I mean, it's going to be, that's it. We're going to be dead. Your idea of the world and how you want it to work by opening up those borders is going to kill all these people that you want to bring in. It will imprison and kill the tax-paying Americans. And I don't know where you're going to get your money from, but inflation is going to be so high and the dollar will be worth nothing on the world market that people will not want to visit America. They do not want to trade their money for money that's worth nothing. And like you have to pay $350 for a watermelon because that's what's going to happen with inflation. You have no idea what you're doing. This is just amazing. This is about being a humanitarian. Why don't we, I don't know how you change the government of Mexico. The Mexican-American War, we offered them $30 million for the land. $30 million. We said, hey, look, we'll pay for it. Texas annexed itself, by the way. Texas annexed itself because the government became so oppressive and the dictator became so oppressive that Texas annexed itself. So we went to war. They started the war. We went to war. We planted our flag for 9 months in Mexico City. We had the whole country. And then we turned around and said, look, we'll give you half of this back. We'll give you the land that the Aztecs owned, not the land that the Spanish that came over and conquered and said, this is our land, which actually belonged to the Native Americans. And somehow the Mexicans, who are part Spanish and part Native American, they decided that it belongs to the Hispanic people. All this land belongs to Hispanic people. That land was only given to you because you won the war with Spain, but it did not belong to the Aztecs. That's Mexico. We should have kept the whole damn thing. We should have kept the whole damn thing, implemented our laws, low crime rate, the drug cartels wouldn't have even existed. And most Americans would want to live in Mexico because the weather is better. It's warmer. I mean, you people are crazy. You people are crazy. Anyway, on to the next video, which I'll explain more about the Mexican-American War. One little kiss from Felina. Goodbye.